name is Yasmin Sawa. I'm a teacher and school leader. Teaching is a highly rewarding yet very demanding occupation, the one that will sooner or later test your limits. Talking all day long, solving your students' problems, countless hours spent on lesson preparation and marking assessments, meeting with parents and management, leading school clubs, organizing events, the list goes on and on and on. Add to this unrealistic performance goals, lack of support with administrative duties, working evenings, weekends, holidays. Teachers who are typically high achievers and are always looking for ways to improve themselves become at risk of being overworked and not taking care of their own mental and physical needs. Although at the start of your career, working such long hours and putting your life on hold may indeed lead to higher performance and higher job satisfaction, it is important to recognize that this initial success could be the first step on the road to work-induced depression or burnout. Burnout is a reaction to prolonged or chronic job stress and is characterized by three main symptoms: exhaustion, cynicism, and reduced professional effectiveness. The term burnout is often equated to feeling stressed by work, but burnout is more than just simple stress. Of course, no one enters teaching profession expecting it to be completely stress-free. But we as human beings are normally quite adept at handling and controlling the usual levels of stress. Burnout keeps creeping up until it becomes overwhelming and can no longer be controlled. Overenthusiasm is replaced by anger and frustration caused by feeling underappreciated despite of all your efforts. This sense of futility and inadequacy leads to increasing level of withdrawal and apathy. Here you find yourself in a full-blown burnout. It is worth to mention that excess work is not the only and not even the primary cause of burnout. If you are passionate, focused, believe in what you do, and feel validated, work feels a lot more enjoyable and satisfying with healthy levels of pressure. You feel empowered and in control. Other frequently mentioned reasons for teacher burnout are poor leadership, lack of vision and direction, toxic peer relationships, and being involved in or witnessing unethical decisions. Burnout is of course not limited to those working in teaching profession. It is a familiar concept in many areas of life, from the corporate world and sales to healthcare or even entertainment industry. It is, however, especially common in caring professions such as ours. Interactions between teacher and students can be immensely satisfying, and in some ways, if our jobs just involved teaching, perhaps the occurrence of burnout would be less prevalent. We do, however, work within complex systems with multiple levels of accountability, from colleagues to parents to government bodies. Your worth as a person appears to be reduced to performance figures. You feel irritable, unable to concentrate, your productivity plummets, starting a vicious cycle of having to dedicate even longer hours to perform the same amount of work. Some researchers go as far as to view burnout as a form of post-traumatic stress disorder, meaning that it never fully goes away and is triggered and reinforced by similar situations, potentially affecting your future ability to teach, even if you take a career break or change school. It takes much longer to recover from a burnout than to slip into one. It is therefore important to recognize the early stages and reverse the onset of this condition. Being preoccupied with work at all times, even when not being productive, sleep problems, overwhelming anxiety accompanied by feelings of guilt and confusion should signal to you that your usual coping mechanisms are no longer protecting you. It is time to seek different coping strategies. I'm not going to focus on obvious recommendations such as spending time with family and friends, eating healthily and sleeping well, exercising and self-care. We all know of the benefits of making the right life choices. The problem is that sometimes we either just can't or they're not enough. So what else can be done to help us not to burst into flames? Talking things through with colleagues can be incredibly effective and is normally within easy reach. Surround yourself with positive and inspiring people. Enthusiasm is contagious, and this also may help you to gain different perspectives. The best solutions are often simple ones. Sometimes you just need a little push to be able to see them. Learn some basic principles of productivity. You may think you're already being as productive as you can possibly be. The idea is not to try and do more, but to learn to do the same in less time. You may be familiar with one of Parkinson's laws stating that work will always fill all the time we allow it to fill. No doubt you have collated an enormous amount of resources, so it is tempting to go through them all to choose the best for your next class. Try to limit the time you intend to spend on every task. Instead of chasing perfection, sometimes it is necessary to settle for good enough. Remember the 80-20 rule or Pareto principle? It refers to imbalance of inputs and outputs and applies to many areas of life. In essence, the idea is that 20% of your efforts produce 80% of the results. It does not mean that 80% of your work does not matter. It is meant to encourage you to identify the most important 20% of the task and put your energy in those. In a situation of limited time, it is likely that you may never need to return to the task again. Avoid distractions. We all know that multitasking significantly reduces our productivity, but we often feel that there is no other way to juggle all our responsibilities. It is estimated that we spend up to 2.5 hours per day just being in between the task. No one can afford to lose such a large chunk of their productive working hours, so the more we learn to prioritize rather than multitask, the better. As leaders in education, we recognize that this problem is rarely a problem of individuals and requires systemic approach, starting from the management. I believe that teachers should be allowed to dedicate majority of their time to what they do best, teaching and supporting students, while an administration team takes care of the rest. Despite all precautions you take, burnouts still happen, and they do not make you a bad teacher or a weak person. If teaching is the career you want to dedicate your life to, you will definitely find the strength to rise from the ashes. If you're a teacher or a student or a parent, we would love to hear about your experiences.